Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you part 5 of What If Naruto Unlock 100% of his brain. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform guys. And don't forget to go ahead and check out the other what ifs on the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 3 more channels. All of them will be down the link in the description. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let's begin this now guys. Begin the intro. So, a bit of a recap from the last part that we left off. Kurasaki, Akisaki, and Tsubaki came to Konoha. As they were there, they were representing their village hidden stone. Also, they were there to assess the strength of the Konoha shinobi. They were not the only team, but they were clearly the most powerful. As she was observing Konoha shinobis, they saw her headband. She knew that they disliked her. Their villages never truly got along, not at all. But she did not care about that. Also, she was also here to see the Namikaze as well. Everyone was talking about him, like he was some special big deal or something. So what if he was the son of Minato Namikaze? She did not really care. She disliked that man heavily. She downright hated him for what he did to her people all those years ago. He slaughtered a whole lot of them. As she was deep in her thought, she actually bumped right into Naruto, who proceeded to catch her in his arms. Her first thought was he was handsome until she recognized who he was. She quickly got flustered, as Naruto spoke to them in such a casual manner. Despite knowing that, she was basically given the order to take his life. This wasn't random, as he was watching them. Watching those that enter his village, of course. As Naruto said his goodbyes, she watched him leave, as she seemed to be quite obsessive with defeating him. Maybe because she thought that he was cute, and she was pissed off that she thought that before knowing who he was. As Naruto also saw the Kumo group as well, Amoy, Karu, and Samui being the older one. Both him and Samui gazed locked towards each other as they watched each other before passing. They also ran into the Sand group as well, but Sasuke was there for this one, as Sasuke had thrown a stone and knocked Kankuro-han away. Naruto did not seem to fear him, as that pissed Kankuro off greatly. These cocky Konoha ninjas. That is when he realized just who he was dealing with. It wasn't your average shinobi, or your average individual. That was him, the one they call Naruto Namikaze. Time passed as they arrived toward the testing area. Both Sakura and Sasuke was surprised when Naruto released a bit of bloodlust, as he shocked everyone in the room. It was an overwhelming sensation, as he did so just to frighten them. Ibiki came as they did their tests, which was rather simple regarding Naruto's state, as they made their way towards the second round. Upon arriving there, they quickly got a scroll. However, they had to face Orochimaru. Orochimaru tried to attack the group. Try was a proper word, as Naruto kicked him away and proceeded to beat the living hell out of him. The Sannin was truly shocked Not only couldn't land a blow on Naruto, the way Naruto switched and moved around him with such ease. Granted, the Sannin was holding back to preserve his identity here, but still, this was a truly shocking realization to see how powerful the Namikaze actually was, as Naruto allowed him to escape because he has plans for him later. Orochimaru was humiliated that he was done so by a child, that he was so easily defeated and forced to flee for his life. He was fuming. He wanted information. He needed to find out information on who exactly this boy was. Well, he knew some, but he needed every single last detail. As for Team 7, they shatter every single record, yes. They surpass everyone timing to ever arrive towards the Forest of Death early. As Hiruzen figured that Naruto would accomplish something like this, Naruto arrived at his office as he had simply moved from the space to here. He wanted to inform about what happened within the forest. As Hiruzen sent people despite Naruto's words that Orochimaru was long gone, and yes, the Sannin was long gone. The only two teams that made it from the outside were the Kumo and the Stone team as well. The rest of their teams that came, they weren't able to make it through the Forest of Death. So with that, the days were up as Hiruzen gave an announcement. They had to perform within the preliminaries. Yes, there was too much of them here, so they had to fight each other to lessen the numbers. As Sakura and Ino take on each other, Ino did not stand a chance in hell. Some time ago, Sakura had came to Naruto, asking for help, and he obliged, helped training her. Ino did not stand a chance against her as Sakura quickly took her out with just blows. As Sasuke took on Kabuto's teammate and demolished him, Kiba went up against Kurasaki, and he did not stand a chance. Kunai was pissed because Kurasaki used Genjutsu against Kiba. Genjutsu, something that Kunai specialized in, and Kiba wasn't able to figure it out because he was too damn cocky believing that the girl could not possibly defeat him. As Naruto's name was called to face off against Akisaki, he made his way down there and made a fool of Akisaki, making everyone believe that Akisaki could actually win this match. However, it was in Naruto's favor the entire time. Akisaki did not stand a chance in hell. Naruto ended the attack by using his own mud golem against him, turning the mud golem into small balls of bullets that he used to bombard him until he fell unconscious. While that was going on, Naruto was being watched. Beyond the elemental nation, that same woman with the golden eyes, she was watching him and she was smiling. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So say we jump right into this brand new episode. Let's begin now guys. We begin this episode at the Hidden Stone, as a panting Kurasaki was rather exhausted. She fell over right on her butt. She was tired. She had been pushing herself ever since returning home. She thought that it would be rather easy to demolish the Konoha shinobis, but she was wrong. That damn Namikaze, he was more powerful than she thought. He could do surprising things. He took out Akisaki rather easily. Akisaki was physically stronger than her, so that means that he was stronger than her as well. Neither the golem seemed to work on him. His strength was ridiculous. Ever since she got back, she has been training. Because, as luck would have it, her opponent in the finals is him. Her grandfather would be attending Konoha, something that you wouldn't normally do for any team that would pass the exams. But this was her. This was a huge spectacle for the Kage to be attending Konoha. Yes, it was huge. That is why she was going to push herself until the time to defeat him, she thought to herself. As she lay back on the ground, suddenly an image of him holding her from falling flooded into her mind. She quickly snapped it away, wondering what the hell was going on. Why was she even thinking about that? Well, her mind has been on him, on how to defeat him. He's shown several abilities during the exams. She believed that she knew how to take him down, but she's gonna need to work a lot harder as she forcefully pulled herself up despite her exhaustion. Meanwhile, at Konoha, the preliminaries had come to an end, and Kakashi had taken Sasuke, while he spoke to Kurenai as Kurenai was currently helping Sakura. As good as Kakashi was in Genjutsu, Kurenai more specialized in teaching someone like Sakura Genjutsu without the use of the Sharingan. Sakura had a rather high affinity for it even back in the academy, and because of Naruto her chakra levels were more astounding than ever before. While Naruto had teach her physicality, she needed to now work on her offensive attacks. And Naruto was also in the exams. That is why she did not come to ask him for help, because they might end up fighting each other. Although she doubted that she would end up at the finals, but she would still give it her best. At the moment, giggling could be heard, as a man was currently in a tree. The tree was close by the bathhouse. Using a pair of binoculars, he was spying on the ladies within the hot spring. His nose was bleeding, a goofy smile on his face. This man was Jiraiya of the Sannin, recently returned back to the village after so many years of not being here. As his perverted smile was spreading wide as he watched the ladies over the hot spring side, he saw a few of them rose up and he got a better shot. His grin on his face seemed to spread. Jiraiya was confused because he did not feel the weight of the branch that he was on move. He did not feel the presence. Could he be so distracted that someone was able to sneak up on him without him knowing? Or perhaps could it be? Jiraiya glanced, acting like he was not looking, but he glanced towards a person, also situated with their own binoculars, looking towards the girls in the hot springs. As the Sannin put away his and gazed over. Wow, the sight is truly amazing. But you know, if they know about you up here spying on them, they would be rather upset. Naruto said, now casually seated on the branch, watching along with the Sannin. Beat it, brat. Can't you see I'm busy? You know, given after all the years that has passed, and I've never truly met you in person, I would think that it would be your first priority to come and visit me after returning back to the village. But I see that you have other goals in mind. As Jiraiya took a better look at the kid beside him, he had a feeling, but now taking a better look. Naruto, he said, looking at the boy. Hiruzen had filled him in on some of the crazy things that had happened while he was away. I presume the Hokage gave you a bit of information on what has been going on in the village, especially regarding me and what I know about you. Jiraiya was surprised. He told me that you age abnormally, but... Jiraiya looked at him as an image of Minato appeared behind Naruto. You look just like him. My father. Jiraiya nodded. Speaking of parents, Naruto said. The girls in the hot springs heard something. It sounded like a violent collision, forcing all of them to get up. They looked around, but they couldn't see anything, as they did not see anything nearby. It probably was nothing, they thought. A distance away, Jiraiya puked out blood as it splashed on his clothing. The man was viciously slammed into a large wall. His body seemed broken. His left arm was twisted unnaturally. He was scuffed up and rather messed up badly, as he was bleeding from his nose. Blood because of pain, and blood was dripping from his mouth. They had not fight. Naruto had simply punched them once. Yes, just once. The Sannin was caught off guard. Usually, Naruto tended to hold back majority of his strength when fighting, not wanting to truly hurt people that didn't deserve to get hurt. However, this was different. He made a promise. The Sannin looked up. His gaze was blurry as Naruto held his hand out. The chakra nanites jumped from Naruto's hand as they start to repair Jiraiya's wound. Immediately. It only took a few seconds as Jiraiya's eyes snapped open, looking at Naruto with a shocked look on his face, as he no longer felt the excessive pain. What the hell, he said. I apologize, said Naruto. When I spoke to my parents, and they found out that you weren't there for me, my mother had rather dreadful ideas on how to make you pay for not being there. One of them include castration. And I don't think that was a good idea. But I did make her a promise that I would hurt you for her. My father also agreed with that as well. You are my godfather, yet you weren't truly there for me. I spoke to Harrison about your absence. He told me about your spine at work. However, I believe that feelings of remorse, anger, rage, loss kept you away, as you weren't able to face your past mistakes, knowing that you failed once again, and that is truly something that can tamper with someone's emotional state. The kid hit right at home. Everything that Jiraiya feared, the kid said. It was harsh. But do not worry, said Naruto. I do not hate you. Emotions. Certain emotions don't bother me like the modern man. So let us start over. And let me get to know my godfather, said Naruto as he held his hand out. The Sanin looked at the hand. Given the fact the kid just punched the daylights out of him, gravely wounded him. He was shocked by his strength, but the kid was giving him a chance. Harrison did say that he was different from most, vastly different. He might as well take it. As Jiraiya grabbed the hand, as Naruto pulled him up to his feet. Before anything else, what the hell did you just do? Was that just a punch, he asked. He seriously needed to know. Yes, I simply spread it all over your body, said Naruto. What? How? The Sanin said. But Naruto simply kept on walking. Come on, how? The Sanin said, following behind him. Time skip. The month fly by rather quickly, as Jiraiya and Naruto had hung out a lot during this month. The Sanin had tried to get Naruto to sign the summoning contract, however, Naruto refused, saying that he already had his own. Jiraiya was curious to find out what that was. However, Naruto was not telling him. He told him that he might see it during the Chunin exams, but he wasn't about to spoil it just yet, as Naruto was dead serious about not telling him. Harrison was also surprised to hear that Naruto had a summoning contract, but Naruto refused to tell him as well. They were shocked to hear that, as they wonder which other summoning creature would sign with a ninja of their village, as their village was mostly consist with a special pack of summons, that being the slug and the toads. The snakes, well, there was one person that was still along with them, but the numbers of summoning creatures were rare, so for Naruto to find one and get them to agree to make him their summoner, they were curious to see what it was, but he was keeping it a surprise, not telling them. Over the month that fly by, Jiraiya was shocked, beyond so, surprised in the things that Naruto could do, as he never expected half of them. Granted, the kid had sneaking up on him and surprised him, but still, for him to hit him with one punch and dealt so much damage, he wondered just how truly powerful the kid was. They did spar, however, Naruto was toying with him. Granted, Jiraiya was doing the same, but Naruto was simply mimicking and using a small portion of what he could do. The Sanin could tell, given the way he moved and the way he used his strength throughout the battle. The kid was something else, alright. Here it was, the big day. People from all over was coming to attend. This was going to be a very special Chunin exams. 3 Kages would be in one location. The right Kage would not be attending. He would be sending a proxy to the village. However, Oniki would be attending. Oniki, the Tissue Kage, the Hokage, and the Kazekage. The place was filled and bubbling with people from all over. They were excited to see the matches take place. Oniki arrived along with his guards, situated and eyeing the citizens of Konoha. The greeting between him and, well, Hiruzen was a very calm one. They greeted each other with respect. However, you could tell that there wasn't much behind it. Despite it seen in the open, the Kage greeting Oniki as well, as the three men sat there. Hiruzen knew well of Oniki after all, as they've even come across each other on the battlefield in the past, when they were both much younger, but as you can see, it did not lead to any of their deaths. Kurasaki was the only participant from the Hidden Stone that was taking place in the exams. Her teammates had arrived though. Akisaki was here, and so was Tsubaki, and there was a few other stone ninjas as well that was here to watch and see the granddaughter of the Kishikage. She was a big deal after all. Jiraiya stood on top of the building over to the side looking down toward the stadium. Envoys were situated all over. This was a very important event. They couldn't afford to have anything screw up here and now. As all of the participants started to gather, this was a really big deal. Even Kakashi was rather early. The proxy for Kumo was here as well. It was a man that seemed to be in his early 40s, as he sat, along with the Kages there. The seat that was supposed to be for the right Kage, but he didn't attend. This man would be representing the leadership of Kumo. So yes, he was a very important individual. He didn't seem to be a fighter, as he had guards behind him. He seemed rather neutral about everything, and rather calm to watch the exams take place. Under the veil, posing as the Kazekage was none other than the Sanin Orochimaru. Orochimaru was barely able to get any information on the damn Namikaze because Jiraiya was there the entire time, and Kabuto couldn't afford to get caught, so Orochimaru told him to call it off. But he put a hit out on Naruto, yes. His humiliation cannot stand that he was forced to flee, so he put out a hit on him. So during the invasion, they would be targeting Naruto. A lot of them would, which would be their gravest mistake. Sasuke was standing there. So was Sakura as well, as Naruto was standing there as well. They all seemed to be ready. Kurasaki was standing there. The Kumo team they all had made it forward, as they were all here to participate, to show their village well. The exam was going to be long. Despite the preliminaries, the numbers were still greater than they expected. However, the people did not seem to be disappointed. If anything, they seemed eager to watch a young generation and what they had to offer. Many was also here to see Naruto, majority at least, as they want to see if he represented Minato's name well. That is when Naruto glanced up to the heaven. But he was not the only one. There was a light. Everyone thought that something was going to happen when a woman suddenly appeared. She was simply standing in mid-air, floating and hovering there. Hiruzen raised her eyebrow in confusion as the woman gazed down towards the participants. Her fluttering blue hair, her golden eyes, focused directly on Naruto. She smiled at him. Suddenly, without warning, Naruto ascended to the heavens, shocking many. He can fly? Oniki said, as the child simply picked himself up and moved upwards. He had the ability to fly. Many were shocked by that as they wondered who was this girl? Who is that? Many of them started to whisper and mumble amongst themselves. You're here, said Naruto. She smiled at him. I don't understand why you participate in this trivial contest when you are clearly the superior one. However, I've been watching you, she said, and it seems to be quite fun, despite your abnormal power over all of them. You've been watching me, said Naruto. Yes, I have. Is that a problem, she said. For normal people, I suppose, yes. But it doesn't bother me, he said to her. You still haven't told me your name, he said. She flew towards him, and once again she kissed him, right on his lips. before she proceeded to pull back. "You've gotten stronger. Stronger than I thought," she said. "You are truly developing at an amazing rate." Her smile was radiant as Naruto reached up and touched his lips. "You kiss me once again. I presume you're doing that in order to scan how strong I've become." "You catch on really fast," she said. "And my name is Yumiko. Don't worry. You don't have to tell me yours. I already know it," she said. Yumiko smiled at him. "I guess you're not ready to tell me what exactly you are," Naruto said, as she simply smiled some more. "I will be watching," she said. "Have fun, and good luck. Not that you need it." With that, she simply disappeared. She was gone. "Yumiko," Naruto thought to himself. "Namikaze." Naruto glanced down as the proctor called his name. Naruto descended down. "I apologize," he said. "Everything is quite fine now. You can proceed." Everyone had questions on their mind, but this was not the time to ask it. Kurasaki didn't know why she felt upset. She didn't know why. She didn't know who that person was. How the Namikaze could fly like her grandfather. She thought only her grandfather possessed the ability to fly. But it turns out that they were wrong, as Harrison wondered who the hell that was as well. He would ask him after the exams. The proctor started to speak as everyone quieted down. Upon finishing his conversation, an uproar happened, as it was time that they began. The first match to take place was Sakura Haruno versus Karu of Kumo. Yes, the two girls were left. As Naruto wished Sakura good luck, Sasuke simply said his usual As he made his way up, Sasuke seemed different as well. He's really been putting in the work to get stronger. He seemed more confident and ready. As Sakura stood down there, it was time that she show off what she has been doing, what all of her training has summed up to. The match began as Karu dashed forward. Her speed was immaculate. Sakura was shocked that she was this fast. She had to keep on moving back to keep her distance. Karu was heading straight in. She seemed like she was just going to knock Sakura out. However, it wouldn't be that easy. Their battle was drawn out with Sakura creating space. Throwing two kunais down, they exploded with the explosive tag. Karu burst right through it, only to find herself seeing three Sakuras. She smirked as she pulled her blade. She lowered herself into a stance. Kinjutsu. 5 dancing flame flowers, she said. She moved off as she twists and twirled the blade like a flower descending from the heavens, each strike targeting each of the Sakuras. However, they fade right through them. They were just illusionary clone. She looked down as she noticed a kunai. However, the explosive tag at the end of it was not ignited. She looked around confused, wondering what was. Shit. Boom! She jumped, but her body was still hit by the force. She crashed hard as she rolled and flipped away when Sakura kunai penetrated the ground where she once lay. She wiped the blood from her lip. Genjutsu, she realized, as Sakura made the tag seem like it wasn't about to explode. Sakura stood there, still keeping her distance. The battle was dragged out as Karu tried to pin Sakura, but Sakura kept on keeping her distance and using Genjutsu, but it seemed to not be working as Karu was fast to break them. When Sakura cast another powerful illusion over her to make it seem like the entire place was changing, the girl flared her chakra and broke it. It was at that moment Sakura pushed her chakra down into her leg. Remembering what Naruto taught her, she pushed forward, clearing the long distance between them. The moment Karu broke the Genjutsu, Sakura delivered a brutal punch that snapped her head to the side. However, Karu was fast and quick. as Sakura dropped to her knees in pain. Karu's blade had stabbed right in her stomach. However, Karu also fell over right on her back as well. The punch was infused with enough chakra to knock her down, but Sakura used an excessive amount to cast her genjutsus, so she was exhausted and injured, as both girls seemed to be down. However, Karu got back to her feet. Sakura fell down as a proctor decided to call the match. The medics were quickly taken out, as they quickly took Sakura away to get her some medical help. The wound was clean as no organs were damaged, so she should be fine. Karu was praised to her victory and her ability to quickly react despite being placed under the genjutsu, but Sakura was also praised as well. She had the mindset to take the next step to become a chunin. She was able to use long distances, as she knew that she wouldn't win in an all-out fighting battle with this girl. Coming from someone who was really nothing in the beginning, Sakura had truly come a long way, as Karu did not come off fresh. She was still injured, as she had to get patched up as well. She had a few burn marks on her right hand. Her side had a piece of shrapnel that had stabbed her earlier, but it wasn't too large to cause her any much discomfort, and there was bruising. And her mouth was bleeding as well, so she was taken to be patched up as well. However, Kumo came out on top in this one though, and declared the winner for this match. The next match was Neji versus Amoy. This match was brutal. You could see the look in Neji's eyes. Every attack that he threw, every instinct, every predictable move, Neji was aiming to kill. Considering the incident that happened all those years ago, which cost his father his life, Neji was aiming to kill Amoy. Amoy did not win this match. As his chakra was shut off, he was unable to do anything, and Neji was about to strike his heart, but he gave up. So the proctor stopped Neji, which really upsetted him. Yes, really much. Shino was supposed to face off against Kankuro, but Kankuro gave up as Naruto glanced towards him. Kankuro turned as their gaze met, as Naruto seemed rather amused. Kurasaki was watching Naruto from behind. As Naruto turned and looked over his shoulder, she looked away. Oniki gazed down below. It was time, he thought to himself. Kurasaki made her way down there. She was ready. She was pumped. As Sakura came back around, Sakura seemed completely fine. Not even a scratch on her. Some were surprised by that, given that she was literally stabbed. Flashback. The medics were trying to patch her up quickly when suddenly strange bugs appeared out of nowhere. As the bugs started to infest her wound, they tried to clean them, but they realized that the bugs were repairing her. It was Naruto nanites, as Sakura shot out of bed, feeling completely fine, as they also injected her body with a bit of adrenaline and a quick recovery healing. She seemed completely fine. They looked at her surprised when she looked down. Naruto, she said. Wait, you believe Namikaze did this? The medic ninja said. It has to be, she said, as she watched as small little nanites made their way off. End of flashback. Sakura gazed down there, with a smile on her face, already knowing that Naruto was gonna win. She wasn't a part of that anymore as she sat with Ino within the crowd. Sasuke gazed down below, as he couldn't wait for his turn. His match was against the Sand Boy. Samui stood there. Her opponent was not here, it was a boy known as Dosu. Up in the Kage box, they were talking, but you could tell that things were still a bit itchy. But there was no violence, so that was a very good thing. As Oniki was talking with nothing but praise about his granddaughter. He did not say a single word about Minato or Naruto at all. He did not even refer to them, like they didn't exist one bit. Granted, the past was the past, however, His feelings towards Konoha was not one of love. He could never love the village. He always wanted his village to prosper and be strong. And he also knew the feeling of loss as well. Kurasaki lost her mother at a very young age. He lost 2 daughters and 1 son. He didn't want to lose anymore. So, if coming to this exam and proving that his village was stronger, in terms of them getting more revenue was a way to avoid war, well, he was here after all. That was a good sign, a good representation. It was a shame the right Kage didn't want to show the same. Down below as the proctor told them to begin. "Are you ready?" she said. She had this smirk on her face, like she knew his weakness or something like that. Jiraiya stood down there, looking towards Naruto, ready to see the match unveil. "Yes, I'm quite ready," said Naruto. "You seem confident in yourself." "Why wouldn't I be? I'm going to win this match," she said. "Is that so? And how exactly are you going to pull that off?" "You just watch and see," she said. Without even any more talking, she dashed forward. The kunais that were in her hand, she thrust them at top speed when she suddenly stopped. Naruto noticed that the both of them possessed explosives. The both of them passed the side of his head before they erupted in a blast. She jumped up in the sky. She then proceeded to launch several shurikens down at strange angles. She remembers match all too well with Akisaki, and Akisaki had a first-person view and was able to inform her about everything, about his quickness. That is why she did not aim towards the blast. She aimed around it. Even if he was fast, he would be running right into her attacks. It was over, she thought, as she was falling from mid-air. She landed as she looked around. However, she could not see him. Where did he go, she thought. Spreading her senses out, trying to locate him, but... wait. Something was... She spun around, but nothing was there. "Looking for me?" She snapped her gaze up. She jumped away as he came down. His fists made contact with the ground and caused a huge explosion. Many gasps could be heard running through the entire stadium. Even Oniki was shocked. This level of strength for someone so young is rather shocking. Naruto had 2,621 ways to defeat her without even physically touching her. Including physically touching her, there was 5,821. However, he had to put on a good show, to show a bit of his strength, for the others to see just how truly powerful he was. He did make a deal with Konoha that, even without the 9 tails, there was nothing to fear, that Konoha would be protected. Kurasaki sped through Handsign. However, she did not do anything, she just kept on moving. Naruto watched her. She rushed towards him. She started to throw punches. He could feel the chakra building up inside of her. As she was molding a large amount of chakra, he dodged and evaded all of her attacks. When suddenly, she brought her hand down, forcing him to jump back as she looked up and spat. Naruto was hit as he slammed against the wall. She then spewed water right on him. Quick line jutsu. She finally said. The lime hardened as Naruto was stuck against the wall. A smirk was on her face. "And now it's over," she said, Earth style. Revolving spears. She slammed her hand down. 5 spears erupted from the ground as they were spinning. They then shoot directly towards Naruto, who was trapped. It seems like all of them violently collided, kicking up a lot of dust and debris. It was a truly shocking sight. Many held their breath as they watched. Was this it? Was he truly taken down? Many wondered to themselves, waiting to see what was going to happen. When the smoke and dust cleared, Naruto was still there. Blood was dripping from his head as his body was leaned over. His arms were not visible, still trapped. And he was not moving. The proctor thought that was it. He was about to call it until, I must say, that was impressive for someone of your age. Everyone was surprised as Naruto was resting his hand on Kurasaki's shoulder. He scared the living daylights out of her. She couldn't even move. Molding your chakra in a way like that to prevent your body from directly producing the technique as you finish. In order to kick up the portion and the amount that you needed to use to quickly solidify me in your trap. Knowing that I would try to disembark, you study my fighting style, believing that you have a grasp on it. However, while you were fast, you were not fast enough, he said. As Naruto's body simply disappeared, the quicklime still hanging there, but he was no longer there. It can't be. When did you put me under a genjutsu? Oh, that wasn't an illusion. It's pretty hard to explain, but I simply fracture a reality of myself and place it there instead. It's complicated, he said to her. She cursed as she spun and slapped away his hand, driving a brutal fist towards his face. I won't lose. However, the next thing she knew, she was in mid-air. I apologize for what I'm about to do. However, I have to put on a good show. Naruto moved with speed that some Jonins couldn't even follow. Kurasaki was hit at least 10 times before she even realized what was going on. She felt pain. She was falling from the air when Naruto held 2 fingers towards her stomach. Without even weaving a hand sign, without even saying a word, he released a literal tornado that crashed violently in her stomach. She was thrown. Boom! She slammed against the wall. Her body peeled off the wall as she collapsed face first on the ground. However, the proctor was stopped as Kurasaki started to get back to her feet. Slowly, she struggled as she started to get back up, coughing up blood as she did so. I won't. Boom! Naruto's fist slammed into her guts. The pressure of his force sent hundreds of spiderweb cracks in the wall behind her. Her eyes rolled back in her head as she fell on the ground, out like a light. The proctor jumped down as he called the match. It was over. Oniki was astonished by this boy's power at such a damn young age, and he didn't even look like he was trying. Orochimaru was actually hesitant to call the attack, but he couldn't afford to not do it now. This was the opportunity. He had to do it. But this boy, he was a problem. He needed first people to go after him immediately, wear him down with their numbers and kill him. Naruto held his hand out. His nanites quickly repaired her body, repairing her damaged organ, stopping the internal bleeding. Kurasaki's eyes opened up. She was shocked. That is when she saw a hand in front of her face. You fought well, despite us not being on good terms because of these villages. You're a pretty smart girl, and you adapt rather quickly to situations. It's just, I'm beyond the reality of anyone adapting to what I can do. But still, your ability to not give up despite realizing that there is nothing that you can do to win. It impressed me greatly, he said. She looked toward his hands. His one hand that was extended to help her up. He was smiling down towards her with a charming smile. How am I healed you, he said. She didn't know why or what she was even thinking, but she took his hand. Before she could even process the actions that would follow, many were shocked by that. As he helped her up to her feet, they were also shocked that she was completely fine. The medical ninjas were beyond shock. How was he able to heal someone so quickly after they sustained such damage? It was same for the Haruna girl. Kurasaki immediately released Naruto's hand. As she gazed up to see her grandfather looking at her, his expression one that she could not read. "Do not worry," said Naruto. "There will come a time where we will no longer have to see each other as enemies. That's a promise." He simply walked away. There was something about this boy. Something that was bothering her. She felt strange. Really strange. As she looked at him walk away. Moments later, after the place was repaired, and after everyone was given a break, Sasuke was ready. "Give him hell," said Naruto. "Tch, do you even have to ask?" the Uchiha said, filled with confidence. He made his way down there. As Naruto's gaze flicked towards the Kazekage, Orochimaru intended to mark Sasuke with one of those seals. Upon fighting him, Naruto was able to get a physical representation of his body genetics. Basically download all the information that he had stored inside of his core. He saw the cursed seal that he could pass on. Naruto watched Kazekage. The only reason why Orochimaru lived throughout the Forest of Death was because Naruto willed it to happen. He made it happen. There was no other reason. Kankuro was kind of worried. The reason why he gave up was to save his strength for the invasion, but this guy, there was something that seemed abnormal about him. Like his strength had no limit. Kankuro felt it the first time they met when he grabbed his hand. And the fact that he turned his back on him because he did not perceive him to be any sort of threat. Kankuro was worried. Worried about the power and strength that this guy truly possessed. Truly worried. But there was no way that one guy could stop an invasion from 2 villages. Right? Time skip. Sasuke training really showed. As his training showed that he's evolved drastically. Rock Lee, who was there, as he was still injured. Naruto had not taken stock and focused on Lee, because he was rather injured from the battle. Recently, Naruto has been doing a lot of things. Majority of people think that he was just an overall good person. But Naruto did what he want. He does what he want. He might be a good person or a bad person. Those things like normal, good and bad cannot really define him. The woman who called herself Yumiko was correct. Naruto was growing stronger and stronger by the minute. And his perception of good and bad, that don't really define what normal people think it was, or what it really is. Sasuke was demolishing Gaara. However, Gaara cloaked himself in a ball of sand, forcing Sasuke to pull out a rather powerful deadly move. Guy was shocked that Kakashi taught him that. This Chidori. So far, the people were ecstatic once again. Naruto's match received more applaud though when his name was called. The Namikaze name was legendary after all. The people were confident in their village strength, knowing that the young generations were stronger than ever, and Sasuke was just pushing it beyond its limits now after Naruto shattered it and break to new heights. Sasuke was going beyond, showing the power and might of Konoha. Watching this, a distance away was Danzo Shamura, the boy that had warned him not to go after Hiruzen. His power cannot truly be studied by normal means. Danzo had tried, but he failed every single time. This boy possessed power that Danzo wasn't sure could be actually rivaled with some of the things that he saw him do on normal occasions. And Naruto had displayed the ability to fly, a rare skill amongst shinobis, and he did it without any efforts. That is when feathers started to fall, as Sasuke caused Gaara to release a blood-curdling scream. Feathers casting the people in a genjutsu. Unfortunately though, they were all destroyed. zapped out of reality by none other than Naruto. As this was the time, Sound and Sand ninjas started to make a move. However, all the citizens were in a panic. To their shock though, Naruto, who stood in the center of the arena now, Sasuke looked over as Naruto simply appeared. He held his hand up. Hundreds of three-pronged kunai that belonged to his father appeared. Oniki floated out of the booth, a shocked look on his face as he watched all of them thrown, without the child even moving. That is when Naruto vanished in a golden flash. Naruto knew every jutsu within Konoha, down to the last, most useless jutsu. Every single one of them. His knowledge had far surpassed anything that anyone on this earth could contain. Learning a jutsu, making up one, was child's play for him. He didn't even need to do this to get them out of here. This was just to show off. Naruto teleported every single citizen, all of the important one as well, towards the bunkers and the shelters. Within a matter of minutes, no life of the innocent would be taken today. Everyone was shocked. Kakashi was beyond shock as he saw the kunai. With all the amazing things that Naruto done, he's never expected him to know this jutsu. Kakashi activated Sharingan, as he was now free to fight without any hindrance. As Gaara's siblings took him over the wall, as they made their way, Sasuke did not hesitate to chase after him. All of the three-pronged kunais proceeded to vanish off the ground, almost like they never existed. As the Kumo ninjas quickly started to group up amongst themselves. They were not involved in this. The stone ninjas doing the same. Oniki stood there, as his gaze was focused on Naruto as Naruto was looking directly at him, as Kurasaki looked towards her grandfather and that boy. Oniki then turned. "It is time for us to go. This does not involve us," he said. He was not going to get involved in something that does not concern them. Although, that boy, he thought to himself, even that jutsu he possessed, that child was going to be a true danger and threat in the coming years. He looked down toward his granddaughter, saying nothing more as they left. Kurasaki gazing back towards Naruto one last time before she made her way off. Naruto stood there, completely unbothered. Despite all the chaos and fighting happening all around him, he did not seem bothered in the slightest. He simply stood there as he closed his eyes. He seemed to be meditating before he snapped his eyes open. "All of you, arise," he said. They appeared out of nowhere, transitioning in this reality. Foxes. That is what Naruto was working on. Foxes. Majority of them seemed similar to Kurama. Not in looks, but in the way they were built. Able to stand up, just like how Kurama was, and able to run on their four legs, as a normal fox. Some of them possessed 3, 4, and 5. None of their tails went over 9. Their tails depend on their strength and their size. A young little brown fox with one tail jumped into Naruto's arms. "Master Naruto!" It had a feminine voice, as Naruto scratched the fox's head. "Is it finally time for us to defend the village?" Naruto was surrounded by at least 20 plus fox. The largest ones were as large as a medium-sized tree, and they possessed 3 tails. He didn't want them to demolish Konoha because of their large size, as the larger ones were kept away. Kurama had become a clan head of a sorts, as he had an agreement with the fox, who was within his own different little location along with his own posse now. Yes, that was a whole nother thing. As Naruto watched, the sand ninjas were running away. Baki was quickly trying to get to where Gaara was, because they were tricked. Go after the sound ninjas, Naruto said. Take them down. As all of them spread, the brown fox jumped on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto had named each and every one of them. The fox on his shoulder was named Charo. I will help as well, Master Naruto. Charo jumped down immediately. Her fur turned solid. Yes, it seemed to be wavy and soft one moment and the next. It seemed to be spiky and stony, but it did not take away from her speed. She moved with that incredible force as she spun. Despite her cuteness, she ripped through a guy's chest without hesitation, leaving a gaping hole. The Konoha ninjas realized that they were on their side. They're with us, Kakashi called out, seeing many confusion pass their gaze. As Naruto gazed out towards the forest before he ascended into the sky, Naruto made his way as he watched down below as the ninjas were heading to where Gaara was. Group of sound ninjas. Naruto held his hand out to the heavens. His palms started to cackle with lightning. They glanced up as Naruto brought his hand down. 5 bolts of lightning rained as it started to zap and annihilate them. There were still Kumo ninjas within the village, and also stone ninjas as well. However, they were simply there to observe and watch. Naruto felt something as he turned and slapped away the arrow that came toward his face. Naruto descended down as he saw multiple shinobis from the sound. They were all coming at him at once. They surrounded him. They did not even talk, they simply blazed through hand sign. They brought their hand down and sinked Naruto, causing the ground to break underneath his feet. 2 then jumped as they rained fireball down. Another then released wind style, enhancing the fireball. They proceeded to cover the hole as they were trying to cook him inside and burn him up. As Naruto stood in the center of the fire, his body cloak protected, his clothing not even getting burnt. He presumed that this was a time to release a bit of his power, to scare them. Naruto started to affect the very atmosphere, releasing the depths of his power. The ground started to tremble, the heavens started to quake. A dark, ominous cloud immediately appeared over Konoha, stopping all those who fled in their tracks. Lightning started to spread from the heavens. Naruto erupted out. He literally erupted from the ground. The countless ninjas that surrounded him. Naruto reached up as he gripped onto bare lightning. As he held his hand together, blending matter and breaking down matter together, twisting until Naruto's body started to tremble and change. 2 arms erupted from his side, making it 6 in total. Naruto stood in mid-air, holding 6 bolts of lightning like some kind of deity, a very powerful god. He then started to rain them down, zapping ninja out of reality. Naruto turned and thrust one of them. Sasuke Uchiha found himself in a weakened position. Gaara had transformed into stage 2 and was overpowering him when suddenly a bolt of lightning slammed, crystallizing all the glass, throwing Gaara as he crashed hard. He puked up blood as he was in pain. The lightning had burned into his chest and stomach. The pain overtook him as he lost himself in unconsciousness, allowing the One Tails to emerge. The power of the Biju quickly spread. Naruto watched as the One Tail rose. As the thing turned and started to laugh, Naruto held his hand up. The space above the thing's head started to quiver and shake. Boom! The 9 tails crashed right on top of it. As Naruto gazed over towards Kurama, "Do not kill the boy. I need him alive," he said. Kurama jumped away as Shikaku tried to slash at him. "You stupid fox," he yelled. Their everlasting feud ignites instantly as they rushed and attacked each other. As for Naruto, he decided to flex his power even more. Naruto could see every life form of every sound shinobis. He could see their life form a string that was literally coming from the top of their head, pinpointing their exact location. Naruto held his hand up. He waved his hand and split the cloud, allowing the rays of sunshine to bathe over Konoha. Naruto then held his hand out. With a shocking turn of events, it seemed to literally bend the very heat of the sun. As he absorbed it, using the sun rays, imbued his body with actual rays of the sun, something that should be impossible, should it not? His skin turned bright orange. Naruto's eyes. His eyes started to glow. You could see his skeleton from the outside. His body seemed radioactive. Naruto then held his hand out as he started to conjure a massive ball of energy. It appeared in front of him. It was glowing like a miniature sun. Naruto then started to dice it with his fingers until it turned into multiple small balls. He then proceeded to push them outwards. The sound ninjas were nowhere fast enough. Screams of chaos could be heard. These things might be small, but they packed a punch. It was not just the sun rays, but his power imbued in each and every one of them. Countless sound ninjas started to fall, as most of them were able to escape, but they started to run for their life in fear. That is when Naruto saw the dome ahead of him. Naruto simply took one step forward and he appeared on top of the roof, shocking all of the ninjas. Wait! The Anvu said, "Don't touch it." Naruto looked down as he saw the burned corpse of one of the Anvus that tried to break the barrier. "Don't worry," Naruto said, as his body dematerialized into light and floated through the particles, shocking the sound ninjas. The sound 4 couldn't believe it, as Naruto landed inside with ease. However, upon arriving, Naruto saw a deity standing behind Hiruzen. A powerful deity. It was the Shinigami. The Shinigami turned as his gaze fixated on Naruto in an unnatural way. Most could not see him, but Naruto looked directly at him, looking directly into his eyes. All of a sudden, the great being of death got angry, filled with rage. "You," it said. The knife that was in its mouth, it took it out and gripped it. The knife was enveloped in darkness before. Said darkness turned into a sight, the weapon of death. The mere touch that it took on the roof turned it into ashes, turning that section into dust. It raised the sight towards Naruto. But guys, we end episode right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace, guys.